Welcome back to the table, everyone. Today I want to show you another Kickstarter. This is North Cape. This has been out for a few days, so we got 22 days left. They're halfway through their goal, so they're at 5,717 out of 10,000 to make this happen. So I thought I would give them a shout out, see if we can get them some more pledges. I think this is an important Kickstarter, and I will tell you why here in a moment. So the Kickstarter is for North Cape Naval Miniatures board game. So it's a collectible vintage war game with miniature ships for World War II. They have a little video. It's like 2 minutes long. You know, come check out the video. It tells you a little bit about the Kickstarter. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Kickstarter. Now, first of all, this is not a reprint. This is the actual game from 1978. So CNC is a miniatures manufacturer. They do a lot of World War II ships, and there's a little story in here, but they had, let me see if I can find it, 3,000 copies of the game made, and 1,600 copies of the game was sold, and then the rest sat in storage for about 44 years, and someone dug them out and said, you know what? Let's share these out. Yeah, because 44 years, that's a long time. I had never heard of this. So I was born in 1974. So when 1978 came out, I was probably worried about, eating bugs. I don't know. It probably wasn't very pleasant, but this certainly was before me. And so I was like, dang, this would be very cool. This is a great idea. So right now they have 580 vintage box sets ready to go with a mixed match of some plies you'll see. When we look at the pledge levels, we'll see what's available at the different levels when you purchase in. So the really cool thing about this is it's a vintage game, and it's a miniatures game that you can play on a board. Like that, to me, I just thought was like really cool. So the ships, if we look, they're a 1/4800 scale. I won't talk too much about scale, but one of the things that I'm concerned usually with my naval wargaming is how things look on the table. So when you play nowadays 1/1800, there's a company that's putting out ships in that scale, and the problem that I have with that is the distances from measuring to a ship and then measuring out to like what they consider long distance for the guns, it doesn't look very real. I mean, because some of these battleships are shooting 20 kilometers or more. If they got spotter planes, maybe they're shooting further out. That's really long. And the scale, when you have your two ships like this way apart, and that's like medium range, it's like that really doesn't feel like 10 nautical miles or anything like that. That just feels really close. So 1/4800 scale, I wish I had some in that scale to show you. That's pretty small. But here's the thing. If you're not very familiar with naval wargaming and naval miniatures, I'm going to try not to bore you, but I'll tell you that a scale smaller than this is 1/6000. And those, if you have them up close, you can kind of tell the ship it's supposed to be. But I was really amazed that these, being just a little bit bigger, you get an amazing amount of detail. So let's look here. So these castings are really good. And I think it's the original ships because it says lead. I don't think we use lead anymore. So yeah, these are amazing amounts of detail on these tiny ships. I mean, look, there's a die 6. I don't think they grabbed a joke die 6, but here's one of the hexes on the board. So yeah, they're tiny, but I think they have a phenomenal amount of detail in that scale. So that's great. The benefits, you get access to either PDF copies of rules, charts, things like that, or access to some of the original printed charts and rule books and boxes and stuff. And I think that's important to talk about too. There's also some add-ons, but if you come and read, there's talking about the game sheets, there's an illumination marker set, ship identification charts. So they have quite a bit of the printed material available, because it shows in the pledge levels that you can buy like some just specific things, or get the whole box set. But down here there's also add-ons, and the add-ons I think are great too, because the game comes with 12 Axis ships and 12 Allied ships. But for $20, and it says plus $2 shipping, you can get an additional amount of ships. Let's see here. Oh, that's the Allied. I'm looking down here. There was an an Allied fleet expansion pack, $20 plus $2 shipping. Oh, there has like a Hood, Colony, 2 Renown, Norfolk Town. Wow, okay, that's great. Because in another, there's an Allied expansion pack A and B. That's great because in the Axis there's Bismarcks, the Lutzow, Scharnhorst. I can't ever pronounce the German. It's like Koenig, so Kern maybe, plus 5 destroyers. Yeah, I'm sure plenty of people will correct me on my pronunciation of that, which is great because apparently I need to know. But if you get the right stuff, you can even do, Battle of Denmark Strait. Because one of these, it said it was like a Hipper class. And wasn't the Prince Eugen a Hipper? I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. But one of these, I'm sure would work for the Eugen, and then you're going to get your Bismarcks, you got your Hood. And a King George, I think, will fit in for a Prince of Wales. So, there you go. Battle of Denmark Strait right there if you get the right expansions. I also thought what was cool is there's some new game dice, but they had old dice, a vintage dice set. I don't know why that intrigued me. A small quantity of made in Japan dice sets. I haven't seen the dice, I don't know anything about them, but in some vintage games I've seen, the dice are kind of small. They're like wood, sometimes like with gold print or something like that. So I'm just like, man, I would love to get some of the vintage dice. So like I said, they have like everything available for this game if you want to go out and get the vintage game. So that's very cool. And then they also have, PDFs and updated new dice and stuff like that. So you can really customize what you get out of this. Okay, so then there's a North Cape expansion. Okay, before I share that. So my buddy sent me this link and was like, hey, check out this Kickstarter. And I'm thinking, do I really need another World War II naval war game? I got a bunch. It feels like a bunch. A lot of PDF rules for games I never play. And really the only one I really play is General Quarters 3. Well, they brought on designer Lonnie Gill, who does General Quarters 3. He did some scenarios for this, so you get extra scenarios potentially. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So, first, CNC has a nice long history and pedigree of miniatures. And then you've got, General Quarters, which I think is a well-known, established set of war game rules for naval warfare, contributing. So I'm like, that's sweet. Okay, so then you have, this is probably where people are going to really start to think about, okay, how important is collecting the game versus I just want a game? So they talk about the condition of the material. I mean, it's been sitting in a warehouse for years. They don't hide that. In fact, what's really cool, you come check this out for yourself here. They had, did I pass it? No, I don't think I passed it. It should be right down, there it is. I passed it. Here. Whoop. They have some pictures that show you the game board quality that you're getting into. So I think that's great. They're not hiding anything. They're showing that you're going to get one of these boxes that has vintage dirt. I mean, there's a stain that's like 44 years old. How could you not want that? It's I almost imagine like there's somebody in the warehouse like these were brand new, and then somebody's just sitting out there with like an ink blotter or something and just, well, yeah, let's make these look distressed. But yeah, these are the original boxes. So but I like that they're not hiding the fact that this stuff is old. So if you're a collector and you want that original stuff, then you're going to have to expect that there's going to be some wear and tear on them. But that's all part of the charm. So I thought that was very cool of them, that they're not hiding the fact that, these have been out in a warehouse. Yeah, now they do got a pledge in here. They mention it. Some of the boxes are in more pristine condition than others. Maybe pristine isn't the best word. But you'll see that there's a pledge level where they have about 150 boxes set aside that are of higher quality than the standard box. So that's an option for you as well. Again, really high end for the collector if you want to get in there and get all of the original components for this game. The only thing not original are the game map boards. So as far as I remember reading, all of the game board maps have been reprinted. So if you're getting printed game board maps, even in the most vintage of them, I think everybody's getting new printed map boards. Okay, but everything else would be vintage. All of the player aid charts and all that stuff, if you go in at that level, that's all the original material. Alright, so let's see what we got for the pledge levels. So there's the donate a number. This is a default of 10, but put what you want. If you don't want to get anything, just donate. Let them buy some coffee. A dollar pledge. This will let you into the pledge manager for ordering ships, it says. So if you just want ships, do the dollar pledge and you can buy the ships from the list. $5. That will open up your pledge manager so you can pick more items to order from. And mostly that would be for picking specific, maybe printed items, rules, things like that. And then starting at the 15 gives you the PDF rules and charts and things like that. So if you have your own ships already and you just want the rules, $15 gets you PDFs of all of that. That is actually truly not an unreasonable price at all, actually. You can go to Wargame Vault and find World War II games, naval warfare games of a lesser quality that cost the same or more. So this is actually a really good price for that. Then you have, and not only that, but it says a vintage 1978 Cape rulebook. So you're getting the PDFs and the actual physical rulebook. Start your collecting of vintage games. Now this one I see probably a lot of people doing, and that's the Naval Wargamer Starter Kit. So if you're not a collector and you just want to have the game, this is great. I would think for an entry-level person who wants to get into naval wargaming, this might be a really good option for you if you don't mind print and play and printing out some of your own components and having PDF, but you get the physical ships. So you'll have your miniature ships to play with and access to the rules. You just have to, print out your own materials. So that, I think that will be a popular option. Well, this only got 3 backers, so I'm surprised at that. I thought that'd have more, but it also gets you dice. But one that seemed to have more pledges than that, well, only 3 backers? Let's see. Which one of these is getting the most? 14... well, it looks like the 130. I'm surprised at that. I figured 70 would go really good too. So that's the game without the box. So you get with the $70 one, you get the PDF rules, the vintage rulebook, so the original printed book, your miniatures for the Axis and Allies, game dice, the modular boards. Let's see, to get the boards at the 35, you don't get the boards at 35. So if you want the boards, because the boards come as a PDF in the $35. So at 70, you get the boards, brand new reproduction boards to play. And then you have, so that, I thought the 35 and 70 would be the 2 most popular for gamers. And then for collectors, and that's somebody who wants that vintage material in their hands, 130 is not unreasonable. Board games today, but this has got miniatures in it too, right? So it's got the PDF version of the rules and charts and maps and things. You got a vintage book, the ship sets, the boards, the game dice. Then you get the printed ship logs, charts, and counters, right? That's the original stuff. And you get a vintage box. And that's one of the lower quality boxes. And then if you do 175, and that's the highest pledge they have. But that gets you the entire game as well, all the printed materials, and it looks like one of those premium boxes. So that's got 8 backers. So I think they've done a very good job of giving you some options. Are you an introductory gamer? I think the $35 set would be good. $70, if you want to up that a little bit more, get some, components. Some of the printed components, though. Well, the boards. The boards. That's what you're going to get at the $70 mark. is the boards. Otherwise, you got to print those out, and I don't know how much of a hassle it would be to print out the game boards for this. So 35 is just your very, very bare minimum to get in there. 70, I think, you know, that one probably would help folks out if they're not very comfortable with print and play. So yeah, that's kind of what I would think. So if you're new and you're comfortable with print and play, $35 I think would be a great pledge level because you get your miniatures. 70, if you're not too comfortable with print and play, printing out maybe the rule book or just having it on your device, but printing out some of the play aids, I don't think that'd be too much of a trouble. It's the boards I'm thinking of, is printing out the boards you use for gameplay. So if you're not comfortable with print and play, I think 70 would be good. And then, you know, like we said, you got 2 levels there for the collectors, the people who want to get that vintage stuff. $130 for a standard box, and then $175 if you want to get one of the better looking quality boxes. So again, I think that's not too bad. Plus, once you're in there, like I said, you know, you can then customize your game a little bit more with additional add-ons, which I think that's great. So I would say get in while you can, encourage them to release more games. I'm just wondering, I'm like, well, if they found this after 44 years, what else are they going to find after 44 years? And not only that, but that might encourage them to continue on that line of 1/4800 scale ships. I'd like to see some stuff from the Pacific or Mediterranean, you know, bring Italians and whatnot. So yeah, check it out for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments, but definitely, if you're able to, come check out the Kickstarter and give them some love and support. Help them reach that $10,000 goal so that they can go ahead and put out more material like this. Alright, anyway, thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you later.